In 2020, America killed Iran's most powerful general with a single drone strike at a Baghdad airport. Just a missile from the sky, and Qasem Soleimani was gone. Iran fired back with ballistic missiles at American bases in Iraq that same week. Nobody died, but the message was clear. These two countries have been one bad decision away from open war for over 40 years. So what actually happens if that war finally starts? What does Iran bring to that fight? This is every weapon they have. We start with the tanks. T-72. During the Iran-Iraq War in the 1980s, Iranian and Iraqi tanks fought some of the biggest armor battles since World War II. Thousands of tanks burned in the desert, and Iran learned a lesson that shaped everything after. Never depend on a country that can cut you off. Today, Iran operates hundreds of T-72s bought before sanctions got serious. The T-72 was built in the Soviet Union as the tank every ally and client state would drive. Simple enough to maintain, tough enough to survive hits that would kill lighter vehicles, and cheap enough to build in the thousands. Iran has spent years upgrading these with local electronics and better armor because spare parts stopped arriving decades ago. In a flat desert fight against American Abrams tanks, these lose. But in narrow city streets and mountain passes where American air power cannot see everything, a T-72 crew that knows the ground can still make life very expensive for whoever is coming through. Iran could not buy new tanks, so they built their own. The Zulfiqar started as a project in the 1990s when Iranian engineers sat down with whatever they could find. Russian manuals, captured Iraqi equipment, and reverse-engineered Western parts, and welded together something that looked like a modern tank. It carries a 125mm gun, composite armor on the front, and a fire control system Iran claims is locally made. Western analysts are skeptical about how good it actually is because Iran has never fought it against a serious enemy in open battle. What matters is not the tank itself. What matters is that a country under total military embargo figured out how to design and build one from scratch. That tells you something about what they will do when the war actually starts, and they need more of everything fast. Kara. After the Zulfiqar, Iran went further. The Kara is Iran's most modern, domestically built tank, revealed in 2017. Iranian state television showed it driving through rough terrain, firing its gun and hitting targets at long range. The hull carries composite armor, a 125mm smoothbore gun, and an active protection system that Iran claims can intercept incoming missiles before they hit. Independent analysts have raised questions about whether everything shown on television actually works the way Iran says it does. But the point is the same as the Zulfiqar. Iran is building tanks, improving them every generation, and doing it entirely without foreign help. By the time a war starts, the version they actually fight with may be significantly better than anything the world has seen publicly. That takes us to infantry fighting vehicles. BMP-1 and BMP-2. These are the vehicles Iranian infantry goes to war in. Soviet-designed, bought in large numbers before the revolution, and kept running through 4 decades of sanctions by engineers who learned to make everything themselves. The BMP carries a squad of soldiers, a cannon, and an anti-tank missile into the fight. The problem every BMP crew knows is that the armor stops small arms and almost nothing heavier. A single rocket turns the crew compartment into a furnace. Iranian crews have been modifying these for years, adding extra armor plates, changing the weapons, and fixing the worst weaknesses with whatever local materials they have available. They are old, they are worn, and there are a lot of them. Iran looked at the BMP and decided to build a better version themselves. The Borog is an Iranian infantry fighting vehicle that carries more troops, has thicker armor on the front, and mounts an anti-tank missile on top. It was first shown to the world in the mid-1990s, and Iran has been quietly improving it ever since. It will never win a fight against a Bradley or a Puma. But that is not the point. The point is that Iran can build it, repair it, and replace it without asking anyone for permission. In a long war where American sanctions try to starve the Iranian military of equipment, a vehicle built entirely inside Iran becomes worth more than a better vehicle that needs foreign parts to keep running. Moving on to artillery. M109 howitzer. America sold Iran these self-propelled howitzers before the revolution when both countries were allies. Then everything changed, and Iran was left with American guns and no American support. Iranian artillery crews have kept these 155mm howitzers running for over 40 years through pure engineering determination. The M109 drives on tracks like a tank, carries its own gun, and can shoot and move before the enemy fires back. Iran has reverse-engineered most of the critical components and produces local copies of the ammunition. In any serious war, these guns would be dug into mountain positions, firing at American supply lines, forward bases, and any armor column trying to push into Iranian territory. Rad and Arash. When you cannot buy artillery from anyone in the world, you build it yourself. Iran has developed its own family of towed howitzers over the past 3 decades. The Rad is a 122mm howitzer that Iranian crews can tow behind a truck and set up in minutes. The Arash is a heavier version with longer range. Neither is the most advanced artillery system in the world. But Iranian engineers have spent years developing extended range ammunition and locally guided shells that can hit a target with much more accuracy than the original Soviet designs they were based on. An artillery piece that fires a guided shell from 40 kilometers away and lands within meters of the target is dangerous no matter who built it. Fajr and Zelzal rocket artillery. 40 rockets leaving the tubes in under a minute, each one capable of reaching a target 75 kilometers away. The Fajr rocket artillery system is Iran's answer to how you hit an enemy who is too far away for regular guns. Iran has spent decades developing its own rocket artillery family, from short-range systems that cover the battlefield to longer-range rockets that reach American bases across the entire region. The Zelzal goes even further, a single large rocket that carries a heavy warhead hundreds of kilometers. These are not precision weapons. They are area weapons designed to saturate a zone with fire faster than anyone can take cover. Iran has thousands of these rockets hidden in tunnels and underground storage sites across the country, and they would all launch in the first hours of any war. Next up, the missiles. Shahab ballistic missiles. On the night Iran fired back after Soleimani's killing, the missiles they used were Shahabs. Ballistic missiles that climb into space and come back down faster than any aircraft can intercept them. Iran has spent more money and more years on its ballistic missile program than almost anything else in its military. The Shahab family ranges from missiles that reach American bases in Iraq and the Gulf to longer-range versions that can hit Israel. Iran claims its newest versions carry maneuvering warheads that can dodge missile defense systems. American analysts say the accuracy has improved dramatically over the past decade. In a war, these would launch in the hundreds at American bases, carrier groups, and allied countries across the entire region simultaneously. Fateh missiles. Smaller, more accurate, and easier to hide than the big Shahabs. The Fateh is a short-range ballistic missile that Iran can fire from a truck, move the truck, and reload within minutes. During the 2020 strike on American bases in Iraq, it was Fateh variants that hit the runways and buildings with enough accuracy to avoid killing Americans while still making the point. Iran has used these in Syria, given them to Hezbollah, and fired them at targets across the region. They represent the part of Iran's missile force that is not about sending a message. They are about actually hitting something specific and destroying it. Anti-ship missiles. The Persian Gulf is 35 miles wide at its narrowest point. Every oil tanker, every American warship, and every supply ship moving in and out of the Gulf passes through that gap. Iran has spent 30 years building an arsenal specifically designed to close that gap. The Noor anti-ship missile flies low over the water, uses radar to find its target, and hits a ship below the waterline where the damage is worst. The Khalij Fars is a ballistic missile modified specifically to hit moving ships at sea, something very few countries in the world have ever attempted to build. In the first hours of a war with America, every ship in the Persian Gulf would be a target. That is not a threat Iran makes quietly. It is the centerpiece of their entire military strategy. That brings us to air defense. S-300. Russia finally delivered these to Iran in 2016 after years of delays caused by Western pressure. The S-300 is a long-range surface-to-air missile system that can engage aircraft and cruise missiles from over 100 kilometers away. Before Iran had it, American and Israeli planners were relatively confident they could fly strike missions into Iran without catastrophic losses. After the S-300 arrived, those calculations changed completely. A single S-300 battery can track dozens of targets simultaneously and engage multiple threats at once. Iran has positioned these around its nuclear sites, its capital, and its most important military bases. Any air campaign against Iran now has to deal with these first, and dealing with them means losing aircraft and missiles before the real targets are even reached. Bavar 373. Iran looked at the S-300 and decided to build something better themselves. The Bavar 373 is Iran's domestically produced long-range air defense system, revealed in 2019. Iranian state television showed it shooting down a target drone at high altitude. Western analysts spent months arguing about whether the footage was real and whether the system actually works as advertised. What is not argued is that Iran built it entirely inside the country without any foreign components under the heaviest sanctions in modern history. Whether it performs exactly as claimed or not, a country that can design and manufacture a long-range air defense system from scratch is a country that will keep improving it until it does everything they claim. Tor and Panzer. While the big systems defend the skies at long range, Iran needs something to handle threats that slip through low and fast. The Tor is a Russian-built short-range air defense system mounted on tracks that can keep up with armored units and shoot down cruise missiles, helicopters, and low-flying jets. Iran bought a small number before sanctions closed that door entirely. In January 2020, it was an Iranian Tor battery that accidentally shot down Ukraine International Airlines Flight 752, killing 176 people, after operators mistook it for a cruise missile during the tense hours after the Shahab strikes on American bases in Iraq. A tragic reminder that air defense systems do not always know what they are shooting at. Now we come to the aircraft. F-14 Tomcat. America sold Iran 80 F-14 Tomcats back in the 1970s, when the Shah was still in power, and both countries were still friends. Then the revolution came, America left, and Iran was suddenly sitting on the most advanced fighter jet in the world, with no spare parts and no help. Most countries would have let them rot. Iran kept flying them. Their engineers figured out how to copy the parts, build replacements from scratch, and keep these jets in the air for decades, using nothing but stubbornness. Today, only a handful still fly, but every American pilot in the Persian Gulf knows exactly what this jet can do. Its radar can track 24 targets at once and fire missiles at 6 of them simultaneously from 100 miles away. In a war with America, these would be the first jets Iran sends up, and the last ones anyone wants to see coming. F-4 Phantom. America built this jet in the 1960s, and it became the backbone of air forces across the world. Iran bought dozens before the revolution and has been flying them ever since, making the Iranian Air Force one of the last places on Earth where F-4s still go to war. Iranian engineers have spent decades modifying these jets, fitting them with local weapons, new electronics, and upgraded engines cobbled together from whatever they could find. Against a modern American fighter, the F-4 loses every time. But Iran does not plan to win a straight dogfight with the US Air Force. The plan is to make every attack expensive, force America to expend missiles and lose aircraft, and drag the war out long enough that the political cost becomes unbearable. Hessa Psyche. Iran could not buy new fighter jets, so they built their own. The Psyche is an Iranian-designed jet fighter that first flew in 2004 and was shown publicly in 2007. Iranian officials called it a fourth-generation fighter comparable to the American F-18. Most outside analysts looked at the photographs and saw something closer to a modified F-5, the old American trainer jet Iran had in large numbers before the revolution. The truth is probably somewhere in the middle. It is not an F-18, but it is a jet Iran designed, built, and can produce without foreign help. And in a country that has been cut off from the global arms market for 4 decades, the ability to manufacture your own combat aircraft is not nothing. And finally, the drones. Shade 136. The whole world learned this drone's name in the autumn of 2022 when Russia started using it against Ukrainian cities. A small delta-wing aircraft that costs almost nothing to build, flies slowly toward a target and detonates on impact. Iran designed it, built it in the thousands, and gave it to Russia. Ukraine shot hundreds of them down, and hundreds more got through and hit power stations, apartment buildings, and critical infrastructure. The Shahed does not need to be accurate. It needs to be cheap enough to launch in swarms so that some always get through, no matter how good the defense is. Iran has these by the thousands, pointed at American bases, Gulf shipping lanes, and every American ally in the region. A war with Iran would mean these things filling the sky every single night. Mohajer and Qarar drone. Before the Shahed made Iran's drones famous, these were the workhorses. The Mohajer is a surveillance drone Iran has been flying since the 1980s, one of the longest-serving military drones in the world. It finds targets, feeds back live video, and guides strikes onto anything below. The Qarar is the attack version, a jet-powered drone that carries bombs and missiles and flies fast enough to actually threaten other aircraft. Iran gave Mohajer drones to Hezbollah, to armed groups in Iraq, and to the Houthis in Yemen. In 2019, a swarm of Iranian drones and cruise missiles hit Saudi oil facilities and knocked out half of Saudi Arabia's oil production in a single morning. The Houthis claimed credit. American officials blamed Iran. Either way, a swarm of cheap drones did in one morning what armies could not do in decades of trying. Shahed 149 Gaza. This is Iran's most capable drone, and most of the world has never heard of it. A large, long-range unmanned aircraft with a wingspan that rivals a small fighter jet, designed to carry heavy weapons deep into enemy territory and come home again. Iran revealed it in 2021 and named it after the Palestinian territory as a statement about who Iran considers its enemies to be. It carries guided bombs, anti-ship missiles, and reconnaissance equipment. It can stay in the air for long enough to reach targets across the entire Middle East and beyond. If the Shahed 136 is Iran's cheap swarm weapon, the Gaza is the precision strike option, the drone that goes after the specific target rather than flooding a zone with explosives. Shahed 136. In 2022, Russia started launching these at Ukrainian cities every single night. Power stations went dark, buildings collapsed, and the weapon doing all of this cost less than $20,000. Iran built the Shahed 136 as the ultimate cheap killer. Small, delta-shaped body, pusher propeller at the back, and enough explosives in the nose to destroy whatever it hits. It does not need to be fast or accurate. It just needs to be cheap enough to launch in swarms so some always get through, no matter how many get shot down. And they did. Every single night over Ukraine. But Ukraine was not the only lesson. In 2019, a swarm of these drones and cruise missiles hit Saudi oil facilities and knocked out half of Saudi Arabia's entire oil production in a single morning. One attack. Half a country's oil gone. Today, Iran has thousands of these pointed at American bases, Gulf shipping lanes, and every American ally in the region. The most dangerous weapon is not always the most expensive one. Sometimes it is just the one nobody has a good answer to.